Hello and welcome to Empowered Birth Prep and Prenatal Yoga Circle. We are so excited that you are here. You are in the right place. If you are ready for a little bit of movement to relieve those pregnancy aches and pains, while also preparing your body, your pelvic floor, your core for birth and for recovery. If you're ready to start thinking about your empowered birth plan or your vision for birth, and if you want to learn some comfort measures so that you can cope through all of the transitions that pregnancy and birthing have to offer. And this will also be a great time for you to meet other expectant mamas and share your journey. I guess we should share a little bit about us. My name is Anna Shaw-Ray. I am a loss and rainbow mama. My Earthside babe is now 4, and my own experience with birth. I've been through, again, loss and complex pregnancies, medically complex and emotionally complex. With my first birth, I had no idea what was going on. I was really young and scared, and birth kind of just happened to me. And then in the postpartum season, I was really struggling to find the support that I needed. I didn't know how to ask for help or where to look. And that really lit the fire in me to work around birth and birthing and to support families like you. So I'm a certified holistic health coach, and I work with women around mindfulness and movement and nutrition. And I also am a pre and postnatal yoga teacher. So I'm here to hold space for you as you move through each season of pregnancy on into once you have your baby home with you and building your nourished postpartum season together. So that's me. And this is my co-host, Aubrey.
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I am a doula, a childbirth educator, and I also do some placenta encapsulation and Reiki energy healing as well. And I have such a strong passion for this time in people's lives because it's so important. It's often not talked about. And honestly, like I haven't met very many people that go into birth knowing kind of a semi what to expect. They go in and they have an experience that probably looked a little bit different from what they were anticipating. And like that lights a fire in me to help that not happen. I want you to feel empowered as you move into your birth, and I want you to feel supported, but I also want you to kind of have an idea of what to expect. Birth is unpredictable. We cannot plan for it, but you know what we can do is kind of understand what's happening to our bodies, what our baby's going through within that pelvis, and as it's navigating that pelvis to come and meet you earthside. And to like just know what options are available and how to have an experience that feels very safe and empowered and like just something that you're aware of as you move into. I started as a doula 5 years ago after my own birth that I planned to do unmedicated and out of hospital, and I had a transfer and a birth that looked very different from my plan. And I was like wishing through my birth that I could have my childbirth educator who lit this initial fire within me to move into the birth world. I wanted her with me because I couldn't remember all of that as I was moving through birth. And so now I try to be that for the families that I work with and to help people prenatally have this support as they do move into birth. And that way things are a little bit less scary.
I love that. And I think that's such a great transition into what I'd love to talk with y'all about first. When we're talking about birth, there is a lot of anticipation, expectation, unknowns, and sometimes even fear that comes with that. And so we know that there is a fear, tension, pain cycle that happens. It kind of looks something like this. We know that fear comes in, and then tension rises in the body, and that just creates an increased sensation of pain. But the beautiful thing about this is that we can break this cycle. So when we're able to acknowledge fear and have full awareness of the experience at hand, then we know our coping skills, which hopefully you'll learn some of those tonight. We're able to work with coping with that pain so it doesn't become something that takes over. we still feel like we have a semblance of control and are able to come back to the present moment. Then from there, the pain is transitional pain. It says the other side of every fear is freedom. So that's what I hope that you gain from our time together, is any of these lingering fears that are on your heart and mind, or just unknowns of like, what in the world is going to happen? What should I expect? That you'll be able to bring awareness and some information, education, but also coming back to your heart, to your mind, your body, and bringing some ease and calm into the midst of something that feels really, really big. So let's go ahead and just find a comfortable seat. One of my favorite ways to just tap into that mind-body connection is simply taking a big breath. So as you come into your comfortable seat, take a moment to just move, finding your sits bones beneath you. Those are those bony points beneath your flesh. You can be seated on the floor, seated in a chair, it doesn't really matter. But once you find those bony points, notice your pelvis. When we're pregnant, we tend to rock back onto our tailbone, which causes a lot of tension in low back, SI joint, hip flexors, and then our core is also opening up and flaring. So first little pelvic floor note for you this evening is to check in with your posture throughout the day. Can you rock your pelvis forward, feeling those bony points of your hip bones? See if you can stack them on top of your sits bones. Feel that length that you just created in your low back. Now, if you're sitting on the floor right now, putting a blanket, a towel underneath you to give you a little bit of rise off the floor will create more room for your low back and cause any strain that you're feeling right now in your hip flexors to ease a little bit. Because I know having the weight of baby coming forward and then trying to sit up nicely can just cause a little bit of tension in your hips. We want to relieve that first. Then place your palms on your ribs. Can you notice whether your ribs feel like they're flaring open? See if you can allow them to settle down, your bottom rib coming closer to the tops of your hips. You feel that? Then bring your palms to your heart. Maybe your heart's leaned forward, maybe it's leaned back. See if you can invite your heart back in space over your hips. Then the space all the way around your palms right now, let it relax. Maybe a big sigh out as you soften your gaze. We're just going to take a couple big breaths through your nose. Notice your breath flowing in through your nose, swirling down to your lungs, your ribs expand, swirling all the way down to your belly, to your baby. And a big open mouth exhale, sigh out your day. Anything outside of this space can fade away. This is your time, your space, for your body, for your breath. Now, as you inhale, allow each inhale to become rounder, smoother, fuller. Then allow each exhale to be longer than the one before it. If counting helps you, this could be a 4 count to breathe in through your nose. Then a 6 count, exhaling nice and slow. Letting your neck and shoulders, your jaw soften here. A couple more big breaths in through your nose. Open mouth, exhale, sigh it out. Your palms can fall down as you take one more big breath. Lick your lips, open and close your jaw a few times. We know that when our jaw is clenched, our pelvic floor tightens and rises as well. And this tension over time can create weakness, hence peasing, sneezing and peeing at the same time, or even just that pelvic floor achiness, tightness. So allowing your jaw to soften and intentionally considering letting it hang heavy encourages your pelvic floor muscles to soften as well when they need to. With your next exhale, allow your chin to fall to your chest and just breathe into the back of your neck. In pregnancy, sleeping in awkward positions, we bring a lot of tension into our neck. So big exhale, sigh it out. Then allow your right ear to fall a little closer to your right shoulder. Your left palm can fall down beside you as you breathe here. Maybe you hold your stress and anxiety here, let your shoulders melt down. It can be helpful to come up with a mantra or a phrase, reminding your body that you are safe right here in this moment. I am safe. My baby is safe within me now. Exhale your chin to your chest, then your left ear closer to your left shoulder. Gently take your time. Right palm can fall over to the right. You just take a big breath in and out. When you're ready, exhale chin to chest. And then allow your head weight to rock side to side, knowing that you get to choose what feels comfortable for you. So you might not always be able to control your circumstances or the speed at which transitions are coming your way, but you do get to choose how you support yourself well. So in this moment, is it safe and supportive for you to take full circles with your head weight? Or would you prefer just to rock side to side? Listen to the messages from your body about what it needs most. And if you decide to circle, be sure to go in both directions, even it out. When you're done with this movement of your head weight, you can do the same thing with your ribs, making big circles with your heart all the way around your hips, just taking a breath. Noticing the sensation in your body now, the areas of you that feel tight and tense, breathing down to them. Kind of thinking about your breath as a massage down to the sensations of tension, massaging them away, creating more room for you to open from the inside out. If you haven't already, switch the direction of your circle. Take one more big breath here to move. Then inhale brings you back to center. Take a moment to open your chest. Shoulders can melt back, opening up to what you need this evening. Maybe setting an intention of a word or a phrase that sums up how you want to feel as you prepare for birth, as you move through birth, as you settle in with your little love. What word or phrase resonates with you? How would you like to feel? Breathe it in. And with your exhale, tuck your chin, round your spine. You can rock back on your pelvis slightly now. Sighing out, releasing away doubt, fear, worry, anything else that's not serving you. And just a couple breaths to move in a way that feels good for you. Maybe it's an inhale to open and an exhale to round your spine. Or if there's anything else your body is craving, another rock, sway, lean. Take your time, move slow. And when you're ready, we'll meet back at center. Now it's totally up to you. You are welcome to share in the chat your word, your phrase, what came up for you about how you would like to feel about your birth and your experience preparing for birth.
I love incorporating personal thoughts into this work because it's so important to be fully connected, your mind, your body, your spirit, especially as you move through something so encompassing of all of those things. So that's why I put some emphasis on things like preparing for birth through making something similar to a birth plan or a birth preferences guide, and like knowing your options, knowing the information surrounding the options that are available to you, and just then knowing how to help advocate for those goals, whether it be you or a support partner that's helping you with that during your birth and in that space with your care team. So I want to talk a little bit about birth planning more thoroughly, to help bring in that connection, that mind, body, spirit connection, to help bring in the peace into that environment, to help you feel empowered as you move through this birth. I personally like to move away from the phrase birth plan. I use it because it's widely known, but we've all been through birth before. And those watching, if you haven't, something that's common is that birth is unpredictable. Birth does not love to go to plan. And my personal favorite phrase on this is birth has not read the plan. Birth has not read the books that were written about it. It is not linear. It goes all over the place. I think of it more as like a labyrinth. So that's like where my mind goes as I think through this. So I like to call it a guide or some preferences as we're talking through this. I think the birth plan is great to help you work through what options you may have. So if you're going through a template, which after this class we will provide you with, we will email you a template. And that template allows you to just select different options that you like and things that sit well with you and your personal goals. So that way you understand what choices are available to you if you didn't know that already. Sometimes that feels different with each and every pregnancy and birth. Sometimes that looks similar each time. And sometimes you learn something new. So I encourage you to think through what feels right, what helps you feel empowered, what helps you feel connected as you read through those kind of things. And then just understand that, there should probably be some flexibility within that. So we'll be sending you some of my info, my tips and tricks to give more information on that in an email after this class too. But I love to do that. And then once you've got your birth preference guide, I want you to take it to your care provider. And I want you to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. This is what my goals are. How can you help me facilitate this? And I want you to notice anything that they may be uncomfortable with, or like, that's not really what we do. And I encourage asking questions about why. So there's a common phrase or acronym that we use in the birth world called BRAIN, or using your brain. We're going to pull it up here on the screen too. So BRAIN helps with knowing, or helps facilitate conversations surrounding informed consent and helping you understand a little bit more how each different option feels for you. This just kind of helps guide that question and that conversation. So BRAIN stands for benefits, risks, alternatives, intuition, and nothing. So I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So as you see here, what are the benefits associated with this option? So this can be something you're asking yourself or you're talking through with your care provider. I often find this most useful in the labor space. So this is something to take with you into the labor space, to have your care team know about your support partner, your provider. That way you can use it as a tool to ask these questions. So ask what are the benefits associated with this option? But then also ask, what are the risks associated with this option? What should I expect if I do choose to go with this option? What alternative options are available? Because oftentimes those aren't presented to you unless you ask. What alternatives? And then think, okay, how do I feel about this? What is my intuition saying? What is my gut telling me? How does this feel for me? And then decide what you want to do. So then you can ask, well, what happens if I choose to do nothing right now, or choose to come back to this in an hour or so? And again, that's more of from a labor perspective. Doing this while you're planning and preparing for labor can be really helpful to understanding fully that information surrounding each of those options. So this is a very helpful graphic for that purpose. And then this also can help advocate. Like if your goal it's a not so common goal, something on your birth plan is not the norm for your provider or your birthplace, sometimes this can help facilitate that conversation about why it still might be safe as an option for you. So, and then the next thing that I would love to share and talk more about is comfort measures and how to utilize various comfort measures in labor. I know that everybody has different preferences among comfort measures. So I'm going to just go over a couple common ones and share a little bit about how the pelvis tends to move within these comfort measures and how to stay calm and relaxed regardless of your goals for birth, regardless of if you're planning unmedicated or medicated. Like however you choose to give birth, comfort measures and coping techniques can really be helpful to releasing fear, as Anna showed you a little bit earlier with the fear release cycle. So I want you to take a moment and just notice your shoulders. Notice how they feel. Are you tense? Are you up here? I find myself up here a lot, and then I think about it and I'm like, oh, okay, let me take a breath. Let me lower those shoulders. This is a very common place to hold tension, your neck, your jaw, your shoulders during labor and birth. So when you find yourself doing this, maybe asking your care team before birth, if they notice you doing that, to just put some firm pressure. Just take their hand and put some firm pressure on either both or one of your shoulders to help you remember to just relax that area. The same can happen with your jaw if you're comfortable with them touching your face or your shoulders. The same can happen with your neck or anywhere on your body as long as you're comfortable with that. But what I like about that is it's a non-auditory option. So if you're utilizing things like you're listening to something like hypnobabies or hypnobirthing or some sort of a meditation or a music, it's not disruptive to your labor rhythm. And so it's a very gentle but firm touch. The next thing that is a very common comfort measure used, but I'm a really big fan of because of how helpful it can be, is counter pressure. And I'm going to kind of show placement of this. And again, this is something that can be practiced before labor to help you feel comfortable with it in the moment. So counter pressure is often used on the sacrum. So here on the sacrum, you can take the meat part of your hand or your heel of your hand, and you can have your partner place that firm pressure on your sacrum. And it's okay to have this adjusted a little bit. You can say higher, you can say lower, you can say harder or softer. And doing that through a contraction can be really helpful when you're having uncomfortable sensations, especially as baby is starting to move down and through the pelvis more, or if you are having any sort of back labor, that can be really helpful during a wave or a contraction. The other way that people often like that too, a variation of it, is taking two hands and using them on either side of your tailbone and your sacrum. And again, you can say higher, lower, firmer, harder, softer, because it's not as common. You're not gonna be able to guide them with full on sentences at this point in labor when you're feeling this. This is common to feel in active labor as you move closer and closer to meeting your baby. So things like harder, softer are easier to communicate in that moment than, can you push in this spot and in this way, or can you massage with this type of thing? So think short things and prepare your partner with that as well. Another common way of counter pressure is something called a hip squeeze, where you grab your hip bones and you have your partner kind of use the heel of their hand, and you want them to press in and up. I don't know if you can see that super well, but you go in and up. And what that actually is doing is you're taking and you're pressing in and up, which I don't know if you saw, but that little watch right here, that actually physically changes how your pelvis is opening as baby starts to descend more. So even just a slight little bit can make a big difference. So those are some of my favorite tools that I use in the birth space as a doula, and that I see often well received among several different types of people. And within the counter pressure and hip squeezing, you can do massage, whether you want to do like a light touch massage down the back, or you want to rub out some of the tension that might be in the back, the hips, the shoulders, the neck. They can be very useful. And then another thing that I want to talk about, this moves away from comfort measures a little bit, but when we think of comfort measures, we think of movement, and we think of utilizing movement in different ways throughout labor to help be comfortable, but also to help progress labor. And a newer thing that's been talked about a lot among the birth community, and within it's starting to trickle into the education surrounding birth, is how the pelvis moves in labor to allow babies to move through the pelvis a little bit more easily. So I want to briefly touch on that before we move into yoga and flow for the evening. So what you're seeing here is the top part of the pelvis. This is called the pelvic inlet. Down here, what you see is called the pelvic outlet. It's the bottom part of the pelvis. So before labor, and typically on the earlier side of labor, the baby is more in the inlet. So as you're working, as baby's kind of higher up or not quite engaged into that pelvis yet, we want to think of how to open the pelvic inlet. So what that tends to look like is we use movements to give it a little bit more space. I'm going to show you from a couple different angles, but this gives you some more space here on the top. And how to do that is when you're moving, you can be walking, you can be squatting, you can be swaying. Think your knees out. So when you point your knees out, and I'm sorry that I can't get low enough for you to see that, but when you think your knees out, that's what helps to open the pelvis. So if you're standing and standing and maybe swaying, point your toes outward, and then you can kind of sway side to side. That's going to change how your pelvis is moving. And when you're adding a movement with it, like swaying or rocking or walking, it's helping to shift little by little that baby in more. So when you think of the pelvic inlet, think of your knees facing out. So this is going to be most of your labor experience. And once you move into pushing, and this varies person to person depending on how low baby is, but once you move into pushing is where I commonly see it, is when you want to start focusing on that pelvic outlet. So, and what we want to do here is we want to focus on opening this up a little bit more. And if you didn't know, your sacrum actually does move too. So if you're laying on your back, some people find that comfortable with pushing, then lay a towel underneath your sacrum to help give it some mobility if you do like being on your back or need to be on your back for pushing. If not, then maybe try to get off your back, laying on your hands or your side, get on hands and knees, or if you're unmedicated and feel comfortable standing or squatting, that can be helpful too. But what we want to do with the pelvic outlet is we want to think, okay, knees in. Now we want to change our knees to going inward. So let's think knees in, and that's going to open up the bottom part of the pelvis. A common way that I see that through pushing is to put something between your ankles and help pull your knees in as you're pushing to help open the outlet. Now, one quick thing about that is that your provider may not know this information yet. So this is a great conversation to have prenatally, because they're probably going to tell you, especially if you're in a hospital space, to open your knees wide and to lay on your back. And that actually can physically change how much space you're giving baby and change how easy it is for you to get baby through that pelvis. So I hope that that was helpful.
Right, let's get to our mats. Again, you can find your blanket or your towel underneath your sits bones. Give yourself a moment to just rock side to side and arrive. Land here with your breath, with your body, inviting your heart back, your ribs soften down. Take a couple deep breaths again, just to be fully present. Letting your jaw hang heavy. Any movement your neck needs, again. I'm talking a lot about neck and shoulders. And we're also going to get into your hips a little bit. So go ahead and extend your right leg off to the right. And give your left foot a little bit of love. Our feet are the foundation of our pelvic floor health, of our alignment. And in pregnancy, they like to swell. So give your feet a little squeeze, maybe a gentle ankle squeeze, or a press for the front and backs of your thighs. When you're ready, we're just going to lean over this right leg. So you can reach up high, feel some length in your spine. Then exhale, just lean over your leg. There's no right or wrong here as you open your chest, finding length on both sides of you. If you're craving movement in that right or left shoulder rather, you can exhale your fingertips down and around. Then inhale them up to the sky. Couple more breaths. Last breath in and out again. Inhale brings you back up to center. Now just plant your left palm behind you. Bring your right palm on top of your left knee. Then let your ribs soften. Let your belly be soft. And just take a little twist with your chest and your shoulders. A big breath in to lengthen your spine. A full exhale to soften into your twist. One more breath here. Inhale slowly brings you back to center. And we're going to give this hip a little bit of love. So a couple different ways to get there. But you can bring your right ankle on top of your left knee. If your body bends like that. Mine says, no thanks. Another option is just to set your right foot gently in front of your left knee. Finding your sits bones grounded again with both of your feet nice and flexed. Inhale, lengthen your spine. With an exhale, walk your palms forward. You can just tent your fingertips in front of you and let your head weight hang. You should feel a big stretch in your low back, piriformis, SI joint, hip, glute, and then notice your jaw. Can you let your jaw hang heavy? Can you let your shoulders melt away from your ears? And then remember what I said earlier, you get to choose your own adventure here. So it might be making the shape look a little more different, more comfortable for you, or it might be a rock, a sway, a lean side to side. What feels really supportive, really comfortable here as you breathe a little bit deeper down into that sensation. Any tightness you're feeling, send your breath there. Big inhales through your nose. A long sigh out. Inhale, tuck your chin to your chest, roll up nice and slowly. And draw your shoulders up to your ears and relax them back and down. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So just gently extend your left leg over to the left. And give your right foot some love, pressing into your heel. Ball mound, maybe wiggle, stretch your toes. A rub to the front and back of your thighs, whatever feels good here. See if you can find your sits bones again. I'm already leaning on one hip. Once you're there, inhale, lengthen, reach up. Then exhale, just lean over your left leg. And again, option to move or option to be still and grounded. It's always up to you. One more breath in and out again. Inhale brings you back up to center, right palm behind you, left palm to the top of your right knee. Just take your little twist. With your shoulders and your chest, notice your belly, let it be soft, let those ribs soften down. Inhale brings you slowly back to center. Then we'll do our other hip. So left ankle can find the top of your right knee if your body bends like that. Or your left ankle can just go just in front of your right knee. Lengthen your spine, find those sit bones. And again, when you fold forward here, we're guiding our heart forward, and just set your hands down. You might not go very far, and that's okay. Just let your head weight hang and then breathe low. So bring that breath all the way down to your left hip. Side joint, glute. Big exhales, helping your body know it's safe to open up from the inside out. One more big breath here. Inhale brings you back. Tucking your chin, roll up nice and slowly. Set your palms behind you, your feet in front of you, and only as far as is comfortable, let your knees just rock gently side to side. Now, if you've been doing squats lately, this will feel like a little glute massage. Maybe you just feel a little release in your hip flexors. Kind of thinking about what Aubrey was saying before, it might feel good to ground your feet and just notice what it feels to let your knees fall in. Notice what it feels like to let your knees kind of fall out. And just feel the difference in your pelvis and what's happening there. Kind of feeling it out. And we'll take our time when you're done exploring here to slowly move into hands and knees. We're not going to be here for long, but just give yourself a chance to rock your hips. Setting your knees under your hips, your palms under your shoulders. Let your knees rock side to side, or your hips rather. Rock side to side. Nice and slow. Maybe even forward and back. And just become aware of what feels good. This can be a really great position to move into during labor, because it allows the heaviest part of babe, their back, to come into the cradle of your belly, helping them move down and around for an optimal position for birth. So being here is a great place. It also allows you to come back to your breath. Big inhales, full exhales. Then back at center, we'll do a couple pelvic tilts. So we'll start with cat pose. Press the earth away, tuck your chin, round your spine, and notice your pelvis tilt down. Then to untuck, we're just going to find a flat back, gazing straight down off the floor. Tilt your pelvis up towards the sky. So we're going to tuck our pelvis under, big exhale, tuck your chin, round your spine. Then untuck your pelvis, finding table, then tilting your tailbone up slightly. Yeah, keeping our gaze down so that we don't overflare our ribs. One more. Exhale, tuck. Inhale, untuck. Beautiful. Finding your way back to neutral, press the earth away and draw your ribs in. So decreasing the space between your ribs and your hips creates a little bit of core engagement that will support your low back. Now, you can take as many steps or scooches as you need to get here. We're just going to set our right foot on the outside of our right pinky. So that might be 3 big steps and a few scooches to get there. And that's okay. If you have a block or block-like objects, you can set that under your palms. Guide your hips forward so that your knees over your ankle. And just take a couple breaths here. Feeling your pelvis, your hips. Noticing where you're holding tension still. With your next exhale, send your hips back. Straighten your right leg, round your spine. Just breathing into the back of your leg, and then notice your hips. See if you can draw your right back pocket slightly back behind you to square them off. Letting any sense of discomfort just roll off your shoulders, off the top of your head. You can take a lion's breath here, stick out your tongue, make some sound. One more big sigh out. Beautiful. Come back to that bend in your knee. Then step your right foot away from you. Let's make some big, juicy hip circles. Getting some movement again into those hips. So hands and knees is a great place to be during birth, during labor. But this is also another good one. So if you feel like baby just needs more support, moving down and around, this will help relieve some of that tension in your hips and help encourage your hips to open up. Again, pausing, breathing wherever you need, choosing your own adventure. Switch the direction of your circle whenever you're ready. If you need to pause, breathe a little deeper, be in a space with your body and time, do so. And we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. When you're ready, ground down through your palms and then just set your right knee behind you. And step your left foot on the outside of your left pinky finger. Guide your hips forward, maybe open your chest, knee over ankle, let your belly rest. Big sighs out. One more. Beautiful. Hinge your hips back, straighten your left leg, round your spine. Where are you still hanging on tight? Relax the space between your eyebrows. Soften your jaw, soften your booty even. With your next inhale, stack your knee over your ankle. Step your left foot a little further away from you, just finding those juicy hip circles on this side. And switch the direction of your circle or hold and breathe wherever you need. Give yourself exactly what your body is asking you for. Beautiful. When you're ready, ground down through your palms. Step your left foot a little bit closer to you, heel in, toe pointing out. Tuck your right toes under, lift your right knee up. And draw those ribs in to support you. Step your right foot halfway up and then all the way up on the outside of your palms. Heels in, toes out. You can move your blocks back between your heels and set your booty down. Bring your hands on the insides of your knees, your elbows rather, on the insides of your knees, your hands to your heart, and just give yourself a big breath. Soften your gaze and take a moment to consider your word, your phrase, the quality you would like to embody as you prepare for birth, as you move through birth and meet your baby. Maybe it was connection, ease, empowered, free, peace. Whatever it is for you, breathe in and sigh it out. One more breath, just like that. Fill up. Feel your ribs expand. Then exhale, forward fold. Plant your palms, lift your booty. And you can let your knees be soft as you just let your head weight hang. Big stretch for the backs of your legs. Gazing back between your thighs. Option to sway side to side or maybe bend one knee at a time, whatever feels good. Slowly begin to walk your feet a little closer together so that they are hips width or wider. And bring your big toes in a straight line from your pinky toe to your heel. Soften your knees and walk your palms up your legs to come to standing. Give your hips a wiggle, your shoulders a wiggle. Bring your left palm onto your right shoulder. And then bring your right palm underneath, giving yourself a big hug, grasping your shoulders, a big stretch for your shoulders here. You can keep wiggling your hips, giving yourself a little love. You can even open your chest slightly if that feels good. And then come back. Switch out your sides when you're ready. The right palm finds your left shoulder. The left arm scoops underneath your right, finding your right shoulder. Big hug. Moving your head, your hips. Whatever feels good here. You can give your arms the release of some big circles, forward, back. Finding your way back to center again. Finding your straight feet. Your hands can go one hand to heart, one hand to baby. Press down through your right foot and just lift your left foot up off the ground. Feel your pelvic floor lift for 3, 2, and 1. Set your foot down. Sit your booty back. Knees are over ankle bones. Can you feel your pelvic floor rising to support you? As you have a nice long tailbone, ribs coming in. Take a breath in. With your exhale, sit 1 inch lower. One more breath in. One more breath out. Inhale, rise back up to standing. Bring your weight into your left leg, lift your right foot, just hovering it off the ground with your leg nice and straight. Keep your right leg straight, but hover. Feel your right hip kind of pulling up to hover. Feel your pelvic floor rising, hugging baby, holding baby in, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Give your hips a sway. And just notice how that felt. Notice your pelvic floor doing the work it needs to do. Holding baby in, holding you up, and then releasing, softening, letting go. That's the ebb and flow we hope for in birth. Finding ease in the midst of the work. Feeling the sensations as they come, but noticing that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. As you make your way back to a comfortable seat, wherever you would like to be, we'll close out together. Maybe a moment to just notice how that felt in your body. And as we think of everything we've talked about tonight in class, envisioning your experience and what you would like out of your birth. So I'd love to hear kind of any last takeaways or thoughts. What is it that you'd like to carry out with you? Or is there anything you'd like to learn more about?
If you've enjoyed this snippet, we would love to have you join us for a 4-week class where we combined childbirth education and this prenatal yoga circle to have a more well-rounded experience as you move through the rest of pregnancy and into birth. So the things that we're going to cover are evidence-based practices for a normal, safe birth, common interventions, what they might be used for. Comfort measures will go more into that than what we did this evening, and how they can support your birthing body and your mind and help you feel more comfortable regardless of how you give birth. Medical pain relief options. So you have those options there if you need them or want them. Making informed choices for your birth, because that is so important in this world right now. You'll learn how to navigate the birth process, how to make the most of your labor support team. You're going to learn some basics of feeding your baby, whether you choose to do breast or bottle feeding or need to do a little combo of both. And then you'll also learn about what to expect in those early postpartum days and how to best support yourself through it, as well as incorporating movement that's specifically designed to condition your pelvic floor and your core for birth, that helps ease recovery, helps you move through labor and birth. Adjustment for better alignment, that's really important for right now in your pregnancy, all the way through into postpartum. You'll also have an opportunity to journal and have conversational topics focused on addressing these common doubts and worries that come up, that we can help bring clarity to energy and joy as we move into this new transition of your life. And we'll also work through releasing these fears, reducing pain through mindfulness and breath work for labor, birth, and even into early postpartum.
And I'm really, really excited about this 4-week series. We are getting it started on July 5th, and we'll run through the 28th. And this is 8 classes, 2 hours per class. So childbirth education will be meeting on Tuesdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here online from the comfort of your own home. And then on Thursdays, we'll have our pregnancy centering circle and prenatal yoga. So that's your time to connect with other expectant mamas and, process through the bits and pieces of your journey while preparing your body, your heart, your mind for birth and postpartum recovery. So that's Thursdays from 6 to 8 p.m. So that is 16 hours of class that you are getting. And what's great about it is, number one, you're in the comfort of your own home. And number two, we will be recording bits and pieces of class. So if you come in for half of a childbirth education night, but have to go early and miss the other half, we'll throw the recording of that class into a library for you so that you can go back and review it and access it as many times as you want before your birth. And then same with the pregnancy centering circle and prenatal yoga. I will not be recording the circle because that is sacred space for us to connect and share big feelings and thoughts and fears and worries and awkward questions that you probably don't want to blast to the world, but I will record the movement of me on my mat directing you through class so that you'll have that prenatal yoga and that very specific designed movement for your pelvic floor, for your core, for birth prep, for push prep, all of the things that you're going to need, those tools in your toolbox to draw upon. So I'm just really excited about the format of this class. Like everything we've been through in the last couple of years has trained us to understand how to use these crazy online systems, but it's given us so much flexibility to build community and gain the information we need for this season of life. You are also going to get a childbirth education workbook that will be mailed to you. So you will have a physical copy to move through. Aubrey, you want to show them?
Yeah, this is like everything you get. It's very thorough. It's packed full of information. It's got your own very own labor guide. So you know exactly what to do, when to do it. It's got visual pictures of comfort measures and the ways to move in labor and during birth and afterwards too.
You're also going to get a resource library. So like I said, when you sign up here on the website, you get a login, and when you log in, you'll already have some of the handouts from tonight. You'll also have pre-recorded yoga classes, pre and postnatal nutrition inspiration, so some menu inspiration for your pregnancy, but then also a review of the book, The First 40 Days, that'll help you prep for your postpartum food life, because that's really the hard part, holding baby and eating and making sure that everybody gets fed while you're healing. We want to get you prepared for that ahead of time. So that'll be in your resource library, along with inspiration and mindfulness, journaling prompts. And like I said, those pre-recorded classes and then recordings of the 8 weeks of classes. So that's a huge bonus right there. And then you're also going to get a one-on-one session, complimentary consults with both Aubrey and me, myself. So you'll get to talk about your pregnancy and postpartum preparation, nutrition, mindfulness, movement, routine building, and just navigating all the little pieces. One of my most recent prenatal clients really enjoyed the conversations that she was able to have with her partner after unpacking some of this, and really helping her prepare all of the different aspects of her life for this baby coming earthside. And then in the birth planning consult with Aubrey,
Yeah, so I dig a little bit deeper after you've had this opportunity to learn more about birth and what to expect. I dig a little bit deeper with you to help you discover your individual goals and wishes and the tools to help you utilize those, the moments that they tend to come up most commonly, and also how to facilitate these conversations with your care provider so you have this you have the option to go into this space with everybody understanding what you want, and it's going to create this really calm and safe feeling as you go into labor, regardless of where you're giving birth and who you're giving birth with. That conversation needs to happen. And honestly, that's something that I would love for your partner to join us with, in that as well as the childbirth education portion of this class. It's important for partners to be included in these conversations too, because they have a huge impact, and they are also, this is their birth as well, and they are feeling a lot of it too, in just very different ways than what we feel it as birthing moms and people who go through it.
And that's really what we want for you. We want you to walk away with the tools for your toolbox, the information, the resources, that mind-body connection that you need to have an empowered birth experience. And so we are here to facilitate and equip you with that. And what's beautiful about this experience is it's not a one size fits all. We are here to meet you where you're at. This class is really customized to you, to your body, to your concerns, and to the preparation that you specifically need, whether you're birthing at home or birthing in a hospital setting, whether you're going to have a lot of family support in postpartum or none at all. We are here to help equip you with exactly what you need to feel empowered through each step of this gigantic transition that's happening right now within you. So I know the first thing that you're asking is, what's the cost? And this screen has been up for a second, so hopefully you've been able to see it. But you are getting 16 hours with us, whether that's live or pre-recorded if you're only able to catch bits and pieces live. That means you get to pick our brain, and we are here to hold space for you. You're getting childbirth education, pregnancy centering circle, prenatal yoga. You're getting that amazing workbook, as well as a resource library chock full of stuff for you to support you. And then an hour one-on-one consult with each of us, plus all the 16 hours of classes. It's just mind-blowing that you're getting that for $400 if you register before June 26th. After June 26th, that price goes up to $475 because we're probably going to have to pay more in shipping to get you that workbook. So we would love to have you come join us. Our inboxes are open. If you have questions, you can reach out to either of us, or you can always email me, annashalray@gmail.com. And we are here just to help make this as accessible for you as possible and to answer any questions that you have. Well, we look forward to seeing you. Class starts July 5th, but you got to register soon so that we can get you that workbook.
Yes, it comes. I want you to have this physically in hand so you're able to take it with you to your birth. That's why we really push for the early registration, just because that gives you time to get this and have it with you as we move into class.
All right, we'll see you on the other side. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.